Hi everybody, this is the Unit 1 Day 2 video. I am Mrs. Costello. Some of you guys have me, some of you guys don't have me, but I'm going to be doing the video for this day. Today we're doing distributive property and combining like terms. Just like Day 1, hopefully this is some stuff that you learned in middle school. If you can't remember it, it's all good. That's kind of why we're going through this again, because it's super important stuff. So the first thing that we are going over is distributive property. So with your distributive property, you always have your parentheses, and then there's always this number, or right here there's a letter, but right now we're kind of talking about the same thing. So there's a letter on the outside. We want to distribute the letter to the inside, to everything on the inside. So the A goes to the B and to the C. Now when you distribute, you are multiplying. Okay? And I know it's kind of weird because there's just letters right now, but we're just going to kind of put them together because when the letters are together, that means they're being multiplied. So A to B now becomes AB, and then A to C now becomes AC. Now, every once in a while, it's kind of rare, you might see something like this, where the number or the letter is over here on the right side instead of the left side. It's behind instead of the front. Does it change anything? Not really. Okay, we still distribute it like that. Okay, sometimes we call this a rainbow. So you rainbow it in. So A to B is still AB, and A to C is still AC. Okay, no problem. Same thing, it just looks a little funky. Now we have a big vocab box right here. I know this is a lot, but these are words that we use all the time, and we want you to know what we're talking about if we say a word. So like if I say expression, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. And if you need a reminder, it's all good. So an expression. Expression is different from an equation. An equation always has an equal sign. Now an expression won't. So an expression is a combination of terms that does not have an equal sign. So that's what's going to go in the blank. Now, in an expression, there are things called terms. Now, the terms are either the parts of the expression that are either added or subtracted together. So you can put add / subtract. You could even put plus / minus if you're like feeling lazy and you don't really want to write the words out. Okay. The variables are super important. I know they're not some of your friends. Some of you guys are like, I hate when variables are there, because the variables is that part of math where we add the letters in, and you're like, hold on, I thought math was just numbers. So it's an unknown or changing quality because we don't know what it is. We're trying to solve for it, and it's represented by a letter. The next word we have is coefficient. Coefficient is the number part of a term with a variable. Okay. That's kind of how I explain it. So like if I put something like 2x, I'm talking about the 2. The 2 is the number part of the variable. They go together. They're one thing. They're one term. Then we have constants. Okay. A constant is a term that has a number but no letter or no variable. Okay, these are your notes. So if you want to put variable because that's the correct word in there, that's fine. You can also put letter because they are your notes. They're not my notes, so I don't really care. So something like +3, that's a constant. That number is just by itself. All right. Last one, and this one's super important, like terms. So like terms have the same variable part right there, alike. Okay, that's why we have that word in there, that like. It also says that variables must have the same exponent. Okay, that's super important. When I teach this, I use same variable, same exponent, and we check that off every single time. Something to just keep in mind, all constant terms, so all the numbers by themselves, always like terms. All right, so if you watched my last video, you know that I do some of the examples, and then I kind of give you a little time to do it yourself, and then I give you the answer. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3, and then after I do 1, 2, and 3, you're going to do A and B on your own. So the directions for this is to apply the distributive property. That's the first thing that we learned. So we're going to rainbow this 4 in and combine like terms if we can. So the 4 is going to go in. Now remember, when we're distributing, it's like multiplication. So 4 times A. 4 and A together is 4A. 4 times 3 is 12, so plus 12. That is it. I know, so, like when I teach this in person, you guys are like, wait a second, there's no more things to do? Well, this one has an A, right? 4A, and this one doesn't have an A, so you're good. All it said was distribute. Same thing with number 2. This X on the outside, we're going to rainbow the X in. So X to the X times 4 is 4X, even though the X comes first. Like you can switch those two and it's not a big deal. Now, X times X, okay, see that there's a minus sign right there, so there's a minus sign, so minus X times X, that's 2 of them. It does not make 2X. It makes X squared because you're timesing the X by itself, so X squared. Now, these guys are not like terms because this one is just X and this one is X squared, right? Same variable, yes, not the same exponent, okay? So this is as far as you go on this one. Okay, this is a funky one, right? Because we have the -6 on the wrong end, but it's going to be okay. We can still rainbow it. Now be careful, you have a negative, okay? The sign has to go with when you do your rainbow. So -6 times 2A, you always do the numbers together when you're multiplying. So -6 times 2, -12. And then the A is still there because it's like multiplication. And then 5 times -6 is -30. And that's as good as that one gets because the 12 has an A, the 30 does not. Alrighty, so let's go back to A and B. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, pause your video, write down A and B, try it on your own. I'm going to give you the answer in a second. So if you did those on your own, for A, you should have gotten -21 minus 3x. If you didn't, go back and check your work. If you still can't figure out what you did wrong, ask your teacher tomorrow. And then on the second one, you should have gotten -12a plus 2a squared. Again, same thing. Go back and check your work. If you can't figure it out, you can ask your teacher tomorrow during class. All right. The next one is there's a lot going on in the next one. It says determine how many terms, and then it also wants you to say coefficients, variables, and constants. So we're going to make kind of a big list on 4 and 5. Okay, so let's look at 4. So let's start with how many terms. Remember, in your vocab box, terms meant things that were like added or subtracted in your equation. So I see that I've got 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. 3 terms. Now, it also wanted you to list the coefficients. So I'm going to write coefficients. And I'm going to list them. Okay, remember the coefficients are the things that are in front of the variables. So on 3x, I'm talking about the 3, and on -4y, notice how I said -4y. You always take the sign that's in the front for the coefficient. So 3 is a coefficient, and -4 is the coefficient. And then I also need to label the constants. So the numbers that are like by themselves, the things that don't have any letters. And the only thing that doesn't have a letter is the 9. So the 9 is my only constant. And then the only other thing it wanted was variables. So I'm going to write variables right here. So the letters. And the letters that are there are X and Y. So that's what you would list on that one. I'm going to do another one. Okay. All right, this one, there are 2 things being added. So that's how many terms there are. So I'm going to put terms and I'm going to put 2. Okay. Coefficients, so numbers in front of the variable. Okay, let's see. So I'm looking at this 5. Now be careful on the A. yes, there's a negative sign in the front. There is that invisible 1. Let me draw that in like that. Okay. So you're going to put -1 for that coefficient on A. I know it's kind of sneaky. Constants. So the numbers by themselves, there aren't any. Okay, so you could put no constants because there aren't any. And then there's one variable in this one. It's just A. So you can put variables and you can put A. All right, we got one more type of problem. And these ones have some ones where you're going to practice on your own. So I'm going to do 3 more, and then we're going to practice on our own. So the directions on this says simplify the following expressions. Our goal in this is to combine like terms. So I'm looking for same letter, same variable. Okay, so you're just going to add or subtract those coefficients. So on number 4, I have 8x minus 3x. So what I like to do is I like to put circles around the circles and squares to kind of group like terms. So 8x and negative 3x. Those are both like terms because they just have x. 8 minus 3 is 5, and then keep the x. And that's it on that one. This one, we got to kind of use some PEMDAS, some order of operations. Okay, I have parentheses and I have this -3 on the outside, so I'm going to have to rainbow it in before I combine like terms. Okay. So I'm not doing anything to the 4, so I'm going to write it. -3 times 2a is -6a. -3 times -5 is +15. Now I'm looking for same variable, same exponent. The only letter that I have is this 6a. Okay, so 6a is going to get a circle. Now the constants are always like terms. Remember that was at the bottom. So I'm going to box the 4 and I'm going to box the 15 because they're like terms. So I'm going to combine like terms. So 4 plus 15 is 19 minus 6a. Okay. Or if you are somebody kind of like me and you like the letters in the front, you can also write -6a plus 19. Either one of those answers are totally fine. Okay, this last one I'm doing with you, and then you guys are going to do some on your own. Okay. Again, PEMDAS, order of operations. I've got this 2a on the outside, so I need to rainbow it in just to the parenthesis things. That plus a is going to get left alone. So 2a times 3a is 6a squared. 2a times -4 is -8a, and then plus a, because I left that a alone. All right, like terms. So the first thing I have is I have 6a squared. And I got nobody, right? Because yes, they have the same letter. They have the a's, but there's no squares. So 6a squared is by itself. Nobody to combine with. Box these guys. 8a plus a, or sorry, -8a plus a is -7a. And that's good right there. Okay, you're going to leave it as an expression. You're not solving for a. You're not moving anything around. Now there's 2 more at the bottom. Okay, try those ones on your own, C and D. So pause the video, write down the problems, and then I'm going to give you the answer. Okay, so if you did C on your own, you should have gotten 3, if you did the problem correctly, 3x minus 10. And then on D, if you did the problem correctly, you should have gotten 5x squared minus 2x. Again, if you aren't sure, like go back and check your work, okay? If you're not sure, ask your teacher tomorrow. Those would be really good ones to go over, okay? And make sure your notes are all filled out. Maybe attempt some homeworks before you go to class tomorrow.